All right, thank you for staying with us. Education is the bedrock of any society, and for President Bola Tinubu, it is a key component in his renewed hope agenda. One of the highlights include the student loan scheme, which seeks to guarantee sustainable higher education and functional skill development for all Nigerian students and youth. The first phase of the scheme, which commenced on the 24th of May, is expected to benefit over 1 million students. Also, his administration has demonstrated commitment to youth inclusion in empowerment and governance by the appointment of young leaders as ministers, heads of agencies, and parastatals, amongst others. Well, joining us in the studio to discuss this is social commentator, publisher, The Factor magazine, Japheth. Odesanya, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure.
Well, some would say that the president is keeping up with his promises, especially with the flagging off of the student loan scheme on Friday, the 24th. And that was a major highlight when he was campaigning, talking about the student loan. And we have seen that happening now. Let's talk to us some of the achievements, as well as the flagging off of this student loan. What do you make of it?
Yeah, let me congratulate Bola Tinubu. This is the first year in office. He has, as far as I am concerned, addressed key, what I describe as governmental, seizure, governmental convulsion, especially in the area of education. He has addressed that. And not only with the education loan scheme, not only with that. There are other areas too. Teacher training, upgrading, repository, agenda, such policies. But majorly, for me, because we have had an experience, and I hope it will never happen again. That house was on strike for 8 months.
Right.
That was governmental convulsion. That was governmental absence. So he has addressed that by coming with the motivation, that there must be access to higher education. All encumbrances expunged. He had to repeal the 2023 Act as a bill then, then reenacted it, removing encumbrances such as guarantors. For students to access loan, you need guarantors of grade level 12 and all that. Yeah. Then you need income, something like income, parents' income that must be up to 500,000 naira. Mm-hmm. Then the parents' history loan or loan, loan history yeah. Then there was no provision before for vocation or skill acquisition. He has brought that back, removing all those encumbrances. I think that is novel, that is commendable. However, I want Mr. President to look into the implementation proper. That is where we normally have problem in Africa, the implementation, and so that it is not politicized.
When you say politicized, how do you mean?
So that, like the board, that's the fear in some quarters. When you have the board tied to the CBN, you have some members, like 12, and the question of connection, does not arise. That can be looked into. But above that, I think it's seamless. The application itself is seamless. There are no bottlenecks, except few portal issues arising from the initial application. And that has been restored anyway. So it's a novel thing. It's a good thing because education is key.
Absolutely.
If you toy with your education, it's as good as you toy with the future of the country. So Mr. President is saying is not going to take the issue of education with levity, at least giving access to higher education, I think it is the best of all his achievements, as far as I'm concerned. There is the coastal way and other. But those are infrastructure. Education is key. When you get the people educated, it becomes a lot easier to even give them leadership. They understand your policies better. But when you have idiots, fools, when you have them as citizens, it's a problem. But there is no education.
We have to talk about the choice of words we use here because we have laws.
I understand.
Yeah, guiding our operations.
What I'm saying is, if there is no education, when you don't educate the people, what do we call them?
Ignorance.
All right. Thank you.
So let's look at the Student Loan Act right now.
Yeah.
How, as much as you mentioned about implementation of these policies, in the long term, how effective do you think this will be to ensuring that young people can get a higher education?
In the long term, it's encouraging, it's promising.
I ask because you also mentioned about implementation and politicization of these policies.
Yeah, it's promising because what it means is that you can cater for your needs while studying, take care of the tuition, take care of charges, your upkeep. You get certain amount of money periodically, so that sustains you. You can keep focus. And I see that in the long run, we will have a large chunk of beautifully educated minds as citizens and employable citizens, for that matter. It's one thing to be educated, it's another thing to be employable. Mm-hmm. So we'll have employable hands, and the society will be better for it. Right. The community, the country becomes, globally rated as a committee of nation, in the Committee of Nations.
That has to do with the quality of education.
Quality, that's the key.
It will be getting at the end of the day, because that has also been a concern. The kind of curriculum we run in this country, how it is really a reflection of what the society needs as it is. We recall that there was seemingly a change in the curriculum in, I think, 2023 or 2022, to situate our educational system as such that it can meet the needs of the society. But we're still seeing employers saying we do not have employable youth.
Right.
How do we address that? Even as much as we are looking at, giving people access to education.
Beautiful. And that goes back to autonomy, and the question of funding, heading, science, technology, digitalization of education itself. It will determine the quality. And I think the government will need to do more in that area. It's one thing to give access. It's another thing, to look at what kind of education are we having access to. That needs to be looked into. And that's what ASU is, vanguarding. But there must be proper funding, real grants, And for a government that has chosen to say 1% of accrued taxes, revenue to the federal government will be plowed back into this kind of scheme, must also be ready to look into how the education itself, the education sector itself is funded. What are we talking? We want autonomy. Let the lecturers be better paid. Let the teachers be better paid. Then we also must go back to the foundation, the elementary, the basic education itself, which is purely in the purview of the local government. I think the government, because you look at the number of dropouts.
Right.
Look at the number of dropouts. So it's of concern, and I am happy this is coming. But another thing is, after 2 years of the loan, acquisition, obtaining it, making good use of it, you are liable to begin to pay back.
Right.
Mm-hmm. If you are not employed, what happens? And we have in America a situation where, at the moment,
They're cancelling.
They have 44 million people, borrowers, to the tune of $1.7 trillion, unpaid. So it's becoming a burden.
And the president,
That's why
the U.S. president actually canceled some of this loan.
Yes, canceling about 270 billion.
Right.
But that's just part of it. We are talking about 170 trillion. It's a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So I am anxious as to the Nigerian situation. Fine, this man has come with good heart. Say, you must have access to education. That's Tinubu. He understands how himself got educated, the kind of scholarship and advantages there. Let me also sound this. We must not bury scholarship, bursaries, and grants because of this.
You think that's what some state governments would do?
Yes, that must be stated. Right. And you also know that this is just for federal government tertiary institutions.
For the first phase.
For the first phase. That dichotomy, that class distinction must not be allowed to linger on. It must be addressed.
Private schools have to be part of it.
They have to be. State schools have to be. They are Nigerian citizens. But I understand that it is just the first phase. Fine.
So we'll wait to see how the government will want to channel the second phase, who those will cover as it is. So they want to start with this ones because of the records they have on ground.
Brilliant. There must be employment. Aggressive employment generation. The government must begin that. In the construction, in IT, everywhere. Just make openings so that people who obtain loan after education must also be able to get employed. Then we'll be able to pay back the loan. Yes. It's a brilliant idea.
Because that's the concern of a majority of some of these Nigerians who are also talking about perhaps government should look at just giving them these loans for free.
So that at the end of it, doesn't just become a social welfare package.
Or a burden, because recall, this is not the first time we are passing through this.
Yes, we have a checkered history. Yes, 72,
and because
73, 1991, checkered.
Because of this matter of repayments, it was stopped at the end of the day.
And that's why I said Asiwaju must be commended for addressing governmental seizure, governmental failure, governmental convulsion in education sector. That is what he has addressed, and kudos must be given to that. However, sustaining it is very, very important.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one of the bane of the administration is that ASU is threatening to go on strike in 2 weeks as regards withheld salaries.
The ASU. I don't know. When I was the student union president of Ogun State Polytechnic, 98, 99, I was to be president for maybe one academic session. It lingered till 2000. Because of what? Crisis today, crisis tomorrow. Bordering on the welfare of the lecturers, ASUP then, funding, subvention not released and all that. And we are still in that situation. That's appalling, as far as I'm concerned. And I feel for ASU, but I also hope that Tinubu-led administration, will tackle that brilliantly. That's my expectation. I am hoping that it will not allow that to commence in the first place. 2 weeks' time, there is enough time to sit down with the ASU, the leadership, and say, how do we go about it? Funding is key. They are saying there must be autonomy so that the schools can run on its own, flexibly and creatively too. I think that must be seeded. That must be seeded. No matter what, at the table of negotiation, that compromise must come. Okay, but how do you get that? Grants and what again? Necessary research. It's not a favor to allow the lecturers, to go on research, sabbatical, acquire more knowledge, skills, then bring it back and then build. So I will appeal that Tinubu-led government sees into, the question of ASU and ensure that we do not go back to ASU strike. I said it earlier. We were in this country. ASU was on strike for 8 months.
Yeah. Quickly, because of our time. Now, the governor of Katsina State, that's Governor Rada, has said recently that Nigeria's insecurity is pushing education to the brink. As much as we have this matter of putting in, making funds available to students, and also looking at the matter of employability and all of it, this matter of security, because we've seen, especially in Katsina State, how students were, attacked in their schools, some kidnapped, and some other states, we have seen that. In fact, in the last administration in Kaduna State, at some point they had to shut down schools to address the matter of insecurity. How do we address that?
Yes, addressing insecurity is very simple. It will mean addressing destruction. I have read in the Daily today, and I am happy about that. Tinubu has dragged the 36 states of the Federation to Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, yes.
That you should grant autonomy. When you grant autonomy to the local government, you are granting security. We must devolve security and ensure it goes to the lowest ebb of the system, of the community.
Absolutely.
Community policing. That was why I said, why will IG tell us we are not ripe for state policing? No, that's unstatesmanly. It's unstatesmanly. The reality is that security is key. We can't be talking education. The governor is absolutely correct. But how do we do it? You take power to the local government. In abroad, advanced country, you have sheriff, you have counties. We must have local government police. We must have vigilante. The traditional institution must be involved. Intelligence is important. How can they come to a school, pack away 500 students, and you say there is government? That's governmental convulsion. That's governmental absence. It must be addressed. To address is simple. And that's what Asiwaju Tinubu is doing. Upon that, I'll give him a resounding applause for his first year in office. To have taken the bold step to take the state governors to court. Even though some of them were the architects when they started with Obasanjo, this joint account issue, they started it. But they are saying now that the quagmire, must be removed from the local government. Let the local government be free. So that you have good hands, competent hands, even, governing at the grassroots level, which is very important. Today, it is appalling that when you look at the grassroots governance, there is no creativity. Like the wretched of the head take charge at that level. We should not be. The best of us, the best of our hands must be in charge of the government that is closest to the people. And how do we do it? Give them autonomy. There will be security.
Can the local government handle education?
Yes, the primary schools
are they buoyant enough?
It still goes back to this matter of autonomy.
When you give them autonomy, they become buoyant. They get their grant directly. You don't prioritize for them. They take their money and do what is necessary in line with the needs of the people. Because you have direct access to your funds. It's a great privilege and honor so that you begin to address your needs without necessarily having recourse, to Mr. Governor or Mr. President.
Loud back to the people. Won't education still be expensive if local governments have to handle primary schools and other sundry activities within their local governments?
Education becomes expensive or what?
Within the local government, yes.
It will not. You see, education is important. There must be matching order. The elementary education, which is fundamental human rights, every child must have it. How do you ensure that local government must have the funds to, bring that on board and ensure that every household, every home, the children must be brought out? It's a compulsory thing to give them education because those are the minds you want to rule and govern over in the long run.
Absolutely, and today is even Children's Day.
You know, it's Children's Day today.
Right.
Congratulations to Nigerian children.
And I think last year, the Minister for Education was talking about the roadmap for education in 2024 to 2027, saying that their target is to reduce the number of out-of-school children, return them back to the classrooms.
Yes.
We have a huge number, a huge burden as it is, and not much is being seen with regards to that. Are you saying that this matter of local government autonomy is still the way to go with regards to addressing this matter?
Honestly, it will have addressed this red tapeism, bureaucracy, you know, having to wait for this harm. You know, let them be in charge of their collective destiny. You know, the federal government will do well in mobilizing the people, re-engineering the social system and structure to orientate the people to ask questions. That's what Ashwaju is doing now. That governors, you are answerable to these people. Residents, citizens, your chairman or mayor is answerable to you. Begin to ask questions. Those are the kind of minds you need. Give them orientation like we used to have MAMSA. You know, I think we still have NOA, National Orientation Agency. They should buckle up. You know, give people orientation. This is democracy. Mr. Chairman, this month has received so number of money. You must know what projects he has in plan. How is he going to execute it?
Accountability.
Accountability. Democracy is not about docility. It's about activism. It's about participation. Nigerians must participate. That's the essence of citizenry. You know what makes you a citizen when you are just docile? You know, you don't care about your destiny. You leave it in the hand.
I recall President Muhammadu Buhari, during his tenure, raised the alarm with regards to this matter of local government autonomy.
But he didn't restructure.
Especially when the data came out that Nigeria had a huge burden of poverty, multidimensional poverty. And he says, these governors get the allocation, but when it comes to trickling it down, he didn't address structure. The basic thing is to address structure. And I keep saying it, we have to restructure. We have to redesign. That's the way forward. That's the only way for Nigeria to have, you know, effective governance and government. We'll leave the conversation here now. Japheth Odesanya, social commentator, publisher, The Factor magazine. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll bring you the news update. Stay with us.